Hello everyone, my name is Yuri from Mouse, and today we are at Sebring, preparing for the special event, the Sebring 12. And as you can see, I'm not in my usual GT3, I'm in the Acura. And what's special about this special event? This is the first special event on iRacing where we have a chance at rain. So we're going to go over just how to drive with the Acura, but also give you guys a couple tips and comments on how to drive when it's wet and how to strategize around that. So without further ado, let's get into it and see how this looks like. Alright, so here we are, last sector. And this time we are not in the GT3s that I'm used to. This time we're in the GTP, the Acura, for the Sebring 12-hour special event. So running race fuel as usual. And this car's quick, even in the dry, it's quite the experience around Sebring. Turn 1, we want to aim for the cone on the inside as apex. The brake just before the two cones on the right side. And this car's make it tricky to talk and drive at the same time a lot. So break it to 4 cones. And we got a good exit. You can see you can brake very, very hard initially in this car because of all the downforce. Brake just before the tree. Try to brake in a straight line here. Then we got bigger curbs here everywhere, so I'll just make sure to not drive over them anymore. The last corner coming up, and we want to go very deep initially, then cut down. Brake it to 1 cone. And then cut down here for a good exit. And that's already a lap around Sebring in the LMDH. Let's have a look from the outside cam. Right, so here we are at the start of the lap from the outside cam. Let's have a closer look, and let's also talk about a bit what our strategy is in case it does rain. Because there's a chance it will rain in the special event, and that's why I picked the GTB as well. This car is very, very tricky in the rain. The LMP2 is a much safer option in general. You don't get nearly as punished for example, locking up or driving the dry line in the wet. The LMDH is much harder to survive, but it's also a good challenge. So let's talk about that while we talk about the dry lap as well. For turn 1, the dry line, you want to look at this kink in the wall, brake and aim for the cone that's hanging on the inside there, and if you apex around the cone, you know you did a good corner. In the wet, a lot of this rubber here on the outside makes the car very, very slippery. And there's a patch of grip on the inside very, very early. But braking from the inside does not really work either. So what I like to do is from this white to yellow line, this transition, I go straight diagonally to the inside. I don't brake too much here on the rubber, but then on the inside I suddenly get grip and I get a decent line into the corner. So for the dry, we go like this. This point here, we start turning in. Down 2 gears, and we want to apex around this cone here, like I said. Get close to the wall as you can, and then run out to the curb. And we want to brake in the middle of these cones, so between the 2 and the 3. As you can see, we can brake 100% with the LMDH as long as we're going exactly straight. And when we're going exactly straight, you can brake very hard. Immediately when you start turning, you need to come off the brakes quite considerably, otherwise car's gonna go into lock up or you're gonna lose the rear. In the wet, there's not much of a different line here. You just try to avoid the the racing line on the entry here, so you brake from the middle of the track. That's about all you do. So just running to the outside here, make sure to open up this left hander completely from the outside. It's very, very important that you don't go straight to the apex here, but try to open it up from the right side. That way you get a lot more traction, and I kind of want to aim for this point here after the tire marks on the inside, where there's a kink in the curb, and then we go to the inside. And for the hairpin, we want to brake at the 4 cones. And again, brake 100% because we're going straight, we're still going really fast. In the wet again, the line in the corner is the same, you just brake from the inside, try to avoid the rubber line on the braking. Try to get the car rotated for a good exit. Then if we're running the wet, it can be that there's a lot of pedals on the inside here. You want to run on the outside of this kink here instead of the inside. And then of course for the next corner you want to brake on the inside as well in the wet. When it's dry like this, we brake just before the 3 cones and go all the way down to first gear. Try to get a good exit. And again in the wet here, it can be good to avoid the inside and just run an outside line. In the dry we just try to have the shortest line. And what's really important for this corner here is to straighten up the braking. As we went over in the GTP, if you're braking and turning at the same time, the car doesn't like that very much. So we try to straighten up the braking as much as we can, go from the outside, and we brake just before the 2 cones. And then in case it's wet here, this part of the track is very slippery. So you either come from this outside and go very, very carefully over this to take the outside wet line, or what I think is the better option usually, it depends a bit on track conditions, is try to keep it tight and brake on the inside here and then just use the racing line in the corner. It's dry, so we're braking just before the 2 cones. Again, close to 100% because we're going straight, and immediately when we start turning in, we're going off the brakes quite quickly. This curb here, they changed it for this season, so if you drove last season in the IMSA here to prepare for this, be careful, this curb is a lot rougher. So in the GTP I found that I can still easily take it without losing traction, but for example the GT3s, it struggles a bit more on traction there, so you have to go into the corner a tiny bit slower. And then both dry and wet line is the same here. The only difference again, in the wet, you try to brake on the inside instead of the outside. Keen-eyed might have seen this curb was not here yet before. They added a bit of curb. We still want to brake around the 3. Come to the inside, and these curbs here on both the left and right have all changed. What used to happen is that you want to hop this curb here, so you have 2 tires on the right side, 2 tires on the left side of this curb. And for me this curb is too high to do this now. So I just try to have my right 2 tires on the curb, left 2 tires completely on the track. I don't try to hop the curb anymore, it upsets the car too much. And then the same thing here on the left side. You used to want to hook a wheel on the inside of this curb. For me it's too high now, it bounces too much, so I just try to keep slightly on the right side of this edge here instead of trying to hook my tires on the left side. Then we go to the left side, and again, there used to be 2 lines here going over this curb. For me it's too high now, so I just try to avoid going over the curb completely. You can still hit the curb until you're at the edge with the right side tires, a bit more than I did here. And then again, a bit less traction on the curb on the outside, so you want to have the car a tiny bit straighter when you run onto that if you're accelerating hard, like for example in GT3. You can't turn and accelerate as hard anymore on this curb. And the wet lines in those corners are pretty much the same. And it will be the same in the last corner, you just try to avoid the outside here a bit if it's very, very wet. If it's dry, we look at the 1 cone, and we have a kind of special racing line here for the GTP. where in the GT3s we want to angle the car a bit before we start braking and brake to the inside. In the GTP we just want to brake straight to the outside, run very, very wide, almost at the cones here, and basically get all of our turning done before we get to the apex. So we want to brake, go almost to the cones, shift down, and then at this point here, we're already back on the throttle. We're using this still as our apex, but we're back on the throttle. We basically did most of the corner, and then just after the apex there, you can go flat out, because we did all the rotation already early in the corner. And you run it all the way to the wall on the outside. And that's the lap in the Acura GTP around Sebring. Very, very quick. And I hope also a couple tips for when it rains to avoid having issues in the rain. So there we go. That was the track guide for the GTP for the Sebring 12. As I mentioned, especially when it's wet, but also when it's dry, this car is very, very tricky. So if you're going to do this for the 12 hours, make sure you're doing this right and make sure you're prepared well. It's hard to get to the finish line. You first have to finish first. So knowing that, I wish everyone good luck, and I'll see everyone for the next lap guides next week.